All right, welcome.
Thank you, brother. Thank you
Gabe.
for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, so just a little background of what's going on here. I don't even have a name for this yet.
Okay.
This is, I guess, technically the third episode. I told you two the other day, but it's technically the third.
Okay.
But the point of this is not so much just for just straight podcast content, but more for co-branding efforts, working with other businesses that don't necessarily have I'm blessed. I have access to a bunch of equipment. I've grown up with stuff.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of people who are running businesses. A lot of people are doing different stuff that don't necessarily have access to that, and some do. But just kind of creating it, talking about business, going back and forth, and then I kind of chop it all up, put it out there so that people can listen to it, and then when I chop all this up, you'll be able to use it on your social media and things like that, just to help with.
Yeah, the whole collab aspect is cool. That's something that's big for me. And I want to start incorporating into my business. Just because to your point, there's so many businesses that are kind of so small and just starting out, but they have such a great product or such a great service that they need that exposure as well.
Right.
So it's kind of just a win-win situation for everybody. So
well, there's so many people that we've met, that we know generally of, that we've talked to, that they're all killers out there. They're trying to build something great, and I follow a few people recently where I'll go on their social media, and it's just mostly just them talking into the phone, which is great, but I think it's so important and kind of advantageous to have a little bit higher quality of content.
It brings it to a different level for sure.
Yeah.
And I've realized that myself. That was one big thing this year. I was I want to go into the 2024 with someone on my end to be able to help produce that type of content, because I know how far it can go.
Yeah.
Just from an aesthetic perspective, it can catch people's attention. It's just kind of to your point, what you do is more marketing, and it brings it to a different level of professionalism that intrigues people to say, okay, they're taking it serious. This isn't just a temporary thing,
Yeah, and that it's funny because like you said, I do marketing, I do production in some ways. I'm not as good as some people that we know, but I do kind of generally know what I'm doing in regards to that. But I have nothing of my own. I'm just starting to build it up because I realize I have to make it a priority. And then you see all these people that they have actual teams that are working with them and stuff. It's just
But what's cool to is that you're starting.
Yeah.
And the skills will develop, and it's just part of the process. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people kind of hold back because of that. They're so afraid to start, and so afraid to just get out of their own way of
right.
Dude, you're gonna feel a little bit of a fraud at first. You're gonna feel you don't know what the hell you're doing. Well, that's part of the process. And so once you get past it and get comfortable with the uncomfortable,
Yeah.
I think that's when everything will start to click and shit will start flowing how you want it to. But it requires starting to even get there.
Exactly. And it's funny that you say it in that way, because one of the things that I've always liked about you is that you seem to be almost like a serial entrepreneur, where you're just I like doing certain things, but honestly, I know this can make me money, so I got to figure out how to build that. Yeah. This might be able to make me money and kind of looks fun, so I want to build that. I know your main business.
It's Captain Beard Company.
Captain Beard Company. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Sooner or later, it'll probably be Captain Grooming Company or something like that. I still haven't figured out the name of it, but ultimately, I want to be able to take a shelf space for sure.
Yeah.
Not necessarily shelf space, but just take from that market, because there's so much shit in regular day products. You're talking body washes, shampoos, all these things that really mess up the male testosterone, and it's not talked about enough. And so for me, I want to be able to give people a product that they can count on and feel proud that hey, we're representing something bigger than just a product. And on top of that, it helps us kind of move on to that next level as well, as far as not having to worry about testosterone or anything else, right? Like once you take that out of your system, you're, and especially something you're putting on your skin, like it's 60 to 90% of what you put on your skin is absorbed. It's your biggest, the biggest thing in your body is your skin. Like it's one of the biggest, I believe, organs. I'm not sure.
Yeah, skin's the largest organ. Yeah, okay. It's an organ.
So like to me that was the biggest thing. I was like, if I can like help out with everything that's going on, the propaganda, all the BS that's going on, if I can help with that, that'll take a huge market because no one's doing it. It's not that many people doing it. So like,
well, that's a very interesting thing about your brand that not a lot of other brands have to deal with. So a lot of brands if you have a really, really good product that everybody loves, great, you'll sell. Now with other brands, you can have a shitty product but the people love the branding or fall in love with the branding, and so they'll buy it just to be a part of that brand, where you not only have to have a really good product that people can trust, but you also have to have the branding so that when people see your product on the shelf, they don't sit there and they go, oh, I need to check the ingredients on that, or is that going to mess me up, or is that going to do this, because the kind of the living clean movement is huge right now. And that's
what I was trying to target. For me, it was like, okay, how can I incorporate everything that I love about, the pro-America stuff, the organic, like the all-natural, like how can I incorporate a lot of these different categories into one? And so that's where like my self-development came in. That's where I'm like, again, having organic products is a huge thing. But on top of that, having a fragrance that smells really nice for men, that's a huge, we want to smell good. We want to be able to like feel good about ourselves. And so how do we do that while still being an organic product, while still marketing and helping men out, not just from a beard perspective or a product perspective, but like in life.
Yeah.
And all I see, especially in the beard industry, because I haven't tackled too much of the body wash and all that stuff, but it seems pretty general in the industry that when you look at, for example, an Instagram of, Dove or something, I don't know, but like, let's say you look into it, all you're gonna see is products.
Yeah.
That's all products. And I'm like, I don't wanna do that. I wanna be products to be on the back end. I don't wanna push you to buy anything. If I can help you free, great. But if you want a good organic product and you can afford it, I'm your guy on top of that.
And I think that's so important, is just like establishing yourself as that thought leader in the space, and then also just like, that people will just go to for that guidance on their products and stuff like that. And it's awesome. Like you already have like the shirt right there, just like sporting the brand as much as possible, and like that's really cool. And it like shows that your brand is more than just the product.
Exactly.
It's kind of a lifestyle.
Yeah, ultimately, exactly. That's really what it is. I really want to be able to build a culture around it where, you can feel proud to like say, hey, dude, like I don't got my shit together, but I'm trying to be the captain of my own life, and I'm trying to go forward.
Yeah.
No matter what that looks like, it's not going to look pretty all the time. It's rough, especially at the beginning. But once you clean it up and you build your systems and you put things in place, like shit can go real smooth, real quick, and you can grow in every area if you really wanted to. And that was ultimately a big thing. I was like, dude, I want to be able to give power back to the people. And like, no one's really doing that, especially in that space.
Yeah.
So that was my big mission with it. And so like, although I can look at business and like take the emotion out of it and say, okay, this is a good revenue stream, but at the end of it all, it's all about exposure. No matter what you do, no matter what you sell, it's about exposure. And to me, I want to be the exposure I want to throw out into the market was that. Like I'm mission oriented.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to buy anything.
Yeah. What's your kind of end goal? Like what do you see? Like what do you see when you wake up in the morning and you go, this is it? Like obviously as an entrepreneur, you're never done. You're never done working. You're never done building.
Never stops, bro.
At what point do you sit there and go, man, when I'm here, this is a good spot?
I think there's levels to it. And I think as you start going up, like your levels kind of increase and like the vision broadens quite a bit, especially when you have people in your circle and systems in place. But as of right now, because this has changed 5 years from now. I'm like, damn, that was a small goal compared to like what I'm, So I don't know as far as like end goal. I don't really think that way. For me, I'm like a 2 to 5 year, and so like I try to play like quote unquote chess on that premise of like, okay, 5 years from now, what can I build? But ultimately, the end goal for everything is to be able to take out quite a bit of these big companies that are just not producing great products, and they're harming men. Like, that's just what it is.
Do you think you're gonna like, are you sitting there going, I want to be a smaller brand that people gravitate to over these other? Are you kind of picturing like,
I'm sure that's
one day I'm going to be in every store, we're going to be manufacturing hundreds of millions of products,
It's tough. I think the route that I'm more comfortable with going as of right now and with the brand and the Pro America is really to be in barbershops and have like my products there, where you're having someone walk you through what that is and how it's going to affect you from like someone you trust. Like, I don't know, it's different when you go to a shop and a barber shop and you have that conversation with your barber of like, hey, this is what I use currently, what do you recommend? It goes way further of like building that relationship. And again, going back to the mission, it's all about that relationship. So if I can get with really good shops that like have that mindset, I think it's going to go a lot further, and it's going to help build their small businesses as well.
Kind of like a grassroots type of
exactly.
campaign.
So I don't know if I'll ever be on the shelf on like this, bigger stores like Walmart, Target, or any of that stuff. I don't know. But maybe, like Deerbirds or Chinooks around here, maybe those local smaller businesses, smaller grocery stores, maybe I'll go something that route, if anything. But ultimately, what I really want to create for the brand is just like a really good like HQ to have guys come and smoke a cigar and like hang out and you know what I mean. Maybe I'll have a gym there, something. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I want to have a community like for men to just go and kind of get out from everything and be able to like have conversations like this that normally we wouldn't have, like, unless we create that environment for them. And so that's ultimately what I want to be able to create for just men. And like I think it's just one of those things that for me, I've seen so many men kind of go through really bad, paths in their lives, and if they just have a little bit of guidance, it goes a long way.
Yeah, well, because I know the biggest thing is, they say if you want to eat healthier, stay to the outside of the grocery store, don't go down the aisles.
Right.
If you want to, there's so many there's so much healthier options in physical hygiene and diet and everything that for some people it's not as accessible,
right?
And I think that's the thing, is that like, and a lot of times, and I think sometimes it's more accessible to people than they actually think it is. How do you see bridging that gap between the stigma that's already there that like, hey, a cleaner, more higher end brand is available to everybody, and like how do you bridge that between that and then like the Doves of the world and
and that's the toughest part that I've been trying to figure out, because like I've had so many people say, oh, you can go on Amazon and do this and that. I'm like, yeah, but I'm still feeding. To a certain extent, I'm still giving a portion of my business to like a really big corporation that I don't necessarily like fully, align with.
I know.
So that's where like for me, it's like maybe I'll just go to different like shops all throughout the nation where it's like, dude, it's 30 minutes away or it's 20 minutes. You just got to drive, pick it up real quick. On top of that, faster shipping. Like, how can I like expedite that process as much as possible? And so that's something I've been trying to figure out, but I think to your point, I want to do it more grassroots, where it's like, I want you to go support your local shop.
Yeah.
If you can support your local shop or support, your local grocery store, whatever that might be, that, we can get access to, I see that as a win-win situation, where it's like, I'm supporting them, or they're supporting me at the same time. And so, it's one of those things that I'm going to take a pay cut because of it. I got to give a percentage to the small business, but I'm growing, the nations as a whole, I'm able to give an impact, and I think that's the end goal.
It just makes people healthier, and it makes them better. Like,
and that's the thing. Like, you tell me, hey, like I just want to make money, dude. I'll go on Amazon and kill it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I'm not here for that. you know, it's one of those things that I feel like if I build the culture well enough, I think it'll just expand rapidly to a point where it's like, you know, you'll tell a friend and friend tells a friend, bro, like I just tripled my business really quickly.
Yeah.
And so I'm big on that, like word of mouth. If I can create an amazing product, which is really what I've been focusing on the customer experience as much as possible. And now it's just more of like, okay, how can I market that experience, right? So to me, this past year was really just building a foundation, building a proof of concept, you know, and from there, just, okay, now that we know it's gonna work, we know people enjoy it, how can we scale that? And I'm working with a couple of small shops right now, trying to get that going. And so it's just a matter of time, I think, before I get to that point where like at least we have 1 or 2 shops in every state, you know, and then and on, right? Like, depending on how big the state is, okay, can we target north, south, east, west? Like, can we target every single part of it, and have some really good shops that represent what we stand for?
So, one of your skill sets that you talk about is like sales. Like you kind of have a sales background. Man. You never have a problem talking to people, selling yourself, selling your product, things like that. Where would you say that you need help with the most in your business? And so and that kind of leads to generally the point of like what I'm trying to do here, just with like recording these type of conversations, is because, you know, I want people to see, you know, the 5 people that watch this.
Yeah.
I want them to see it and go, oh, I can do that. I can help with that. Yeah. I like that brand, and I can, you know, do something, you know, and kind of build what me and you are already, and there's a few other people that I'm working with that we're trying to do, is just build a community of, you know, of hungry individuals that are looking to better each other, whether that be in business or just their careers. You know, sometimes the entrepreneurial path isn't for everybody. So business, careers, where do you think you need maybe the most help in regards to building your business? Yeah,
I mean, I think as an entrepreneur, especially in this century, I think it's just content. You know, content and media is always something I'm gonna need, right? And as you start looking at, especially these big guys who stand for that self-development like we do, dude, they're pushing out, you know, 4, 5, 6, you know, pieces of content a day,
it's
minimum,
insane.
Bro. And that's insane production. You need people for that. You can't, bro, you're running a business, you're running, you know, the back end, you're running so many different, you know, fulfillment, shipping. There's a lot that goes into the business, product development, like, and so if I can get a team to be able to do that and take that away, where it's like, okay, I just got to focus on the business operations end, because that's really where I'm good at. Like, if we really talk about like my skill set, operations all day, I can build systems like no other. And so to me, that's really what I've always been good at. And what I ended up doing, like, you know, college wasn't something that was really for me. I noticed that in high school, like freshman year, I knew very quickly, like something just clicked, and it was like, yeah, it doesn't make sense for me to go and take on $100,000 in debt to make 50 grand. It doesn't make sense. Like, just from a numbers perspective, it doesn't make sense to me. And so, you know, I did a year in community college.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
29. Okay, so I'm 30 and did not get that at all.
Yeah.
The whole college thing. Like, I went to college, I graduated college. I was never good at school. I didn't really know. I knew generally what I wanted to do.
Yep.
But it wasn't until I got into college that it really told me that like marketing and that type of stuff was where I wanted to be. But it's so insane that like back then and even you were, it's crazy. It was like a year or two difference between when I started and when it started to really shift, of realizing, oh, depending on the field that you want to go into, you don't need college. And like, there's a lot of businesses out there that say that they need college degrees, and which is fine. It's a filtering process, I guess. But the crazy thing is when it comes to things like, obviously what you're doing, building a business, what I'm doing, even if I'm not like building a business, just like a job in marketing.
But you are, though.
You can learn all of that outside of college. Like, information nowadays is a commodity.
And by the way, like I'll say, I was really lucky, man, because like during that time, like that's when smartphones started to come into the equation. Like that's when like the iPhone 4 or something was what I had in high school, like my senior year. So like that's when like we went from using like flip phones to search the internet, which was a complete hassle.
It was a joke.
To now where it's like, dude, you have access to anything you want. So like it kind of came at the perfect time for me because I'm like, dude, I'm the type that'll ask 100 questions.
Yeah.
I don't have to ask anymore. I can just have an answer.
And that's the insane thing is like this right here,
dude,
makes information is now a commodity that has never been this way before.
Correct.
You can find out everything you need to know about any topic just from this little tiny device. You want to become a business owner, you want to build a Shopify site and sell products, look it up. There's hundreds of thousands of articles telling you how to do it. And it's just a matter of being able to intake that information and then output it and then having the drive to move it. But you don't need a book or a teacher or anybody to really show you that anymore.
Dude, there's just so many people who have done it at scale that it's hard for you to sit here and say, oh, I don't know how to do this. If you don't know how to do it, it's not for you. Like, you don't know how to find the answer, good luck.
Well, and that's one of the things that, and I feel like people always roll their eyes at me when I say this next thing, but that's one of the things that has always really inspired me about like Gen Z, so the generation like just under us, is the ability to sit there and go without any level of embarrassment might be the wrong word, but like they are just gonna push to get what they want. Like they're always on social media, constantly posting videos and content. I mean, we met some guys the other day that I'm meeting one of them tomorrow morning to work out, and who's just like, he just woke up one day and is just like, screw this, I'm just gonna crush it today.
Yeah. And by the way, like that, he's a rarity. Like, so we're like, we also have to look out, right? So like when we look out, like the majority of people are not doing what he's doing.
But when we were 20 years old, there was no one in their 20s that were doing that.
It was
there was
rare.
no one doing
rare.
that.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy thing that I see now with that younger generation is just, like the generation just under us, is that there's a lot more people that you see doing that than...
Well, back then it wasn't so much a social media thing, it was a YouTube thing just starting out. Like it wasn't, we're talking 2010, 2013.
Yeah.
YouTube was huge. Instagram started to kind of get going, but it wasn't like there was enough proof of concept, enough people doing it where you're like, okay, I can do it too. Like there's not, it's not difficult. It's just a matter of repping it out and doing this, consistent value, providing value consistently. So there really wasn't that many people doing it. So like to me, if anything, I wish I would have started sooner, dude.
Right.
Like, and to now seeing these 20-year-olds see how it's done, and like saying, okay, cool, I'm going into real estate, I'm going into these industries, and I can do it too, and I can provide value because my friends aren't doing any of this. They're still in the partying stage, but I'm here grinding. And so like, I think it's interesting because we have like, especially in the society, like most Gen Zs are like quick, gratification and all that stuff. So the people who are like, you know what, I can wait a little bit, like I'd rather secure my million when I'm 40, 50 years old than not have it at all. Those are the people who win, bro, because they see that long term, like imagine, like what you're talking about, Derek, right? I believe.
Yeah.
So, dude, he's doing real estate and he's 20 years old and he's posting he's starting to post consistently on Instagram. And I'm like, dude, think about what that's gonna do for you 10 years from now when all your friends are buying homes, they're settling down, they're getting families, bro. Like you're gonna be that go-to person.
Yeah.
And that's gonna open up way more doors later than it is now, and that's okay. Like it's just part of the process.
Yeah. I moved out of my house at I think when I turned 18. As soon as I went off to college, I think that was like I came home for the summers and stuff, but like for a few months here and there. But for the most part, I was never really moved back after that. And
that's another thing I wish I would have done, man.
Yeah, I wish I would have stayed at home a little bit longer. Like,
well, that's what I did. I'm saying I wish I would have done what you did.
Oh, really? See, I'm the exact opposite. I'm sitting there going, how much money could I have saved if I would have, so when I went to Mizzou, I only went there for a semester. Obviously, I had to live on campus. And if I stayed longer, I would have had to live out there. But then I transferred to SLU.
Yep.
How much money I could have saved just by commuting, how much money I could have saved by like after college just staying at home just for a few more years.
You're getting so sold on this like experience, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna have way more experience if you go travel for 3 months. Like, think about how the rest of the world's working compared to how the U.S. is working. Like, you don't know because you've never experienced it.
I think it's really cool, like when people talk about taking that gap year, there's always been
the problem is people don't go back to finish what they started.
Well, yeah, but I think for some people that could be okay.
Well, for some people that's them getting out of that bubble of like college is everything and like.
Well, instead of diving right into just hills of debt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you could take a gap year, decide what you really want to do. Like, I'm telling you, this is the realization I had the other day, is when you're driving through different neighborhoods, like kind of more out west a little more, and you see these huge houses and these giant plots of land, and you sit there and go, that would be awesome to have, like all that land, everything. And the crazy thing is 90% of the owners of that land and houses are people who did not go to college, and we were sold in high school, we were sold a bill of goods that said we can't have that unless we go to college.
And dude, and that's, we can go into a real deep rabbit
hole.
No,
I know. It's like,
because like for me, like it's just like, if you really look at it, it's just programming. Because if you look at like the economy when it was the 60s and 70s, college wasn't really a known, like it was a side thing because you had warehousing jobs that you can do right out of college that paid well, like. In this day and age would be the comparable median, which would be $55K, like right out of college. Like you're doing really well. Obviously, that's not the numbers, but with inflation and everything. But maybe you might have made $30K. But the cost of living was so cheap that like $30K was enough for you to have and support a family. Like it was not a problem. You can buy a brand new car in high school. You can't do that now, right? And so when you start looking at it, they remove the technical schools, so you can't get construction jobs unless you go and you work for the union. Like that's the best way to do it. Like I have a lot of friends who are in electrical, and they worked for the union, did their apprenticeship. They're getting paid minimum wage for 2 or 3 years. But once they come out $45, $50 an hour jobs that are great paying jobs. And so that's probably the only way that I would have done it if I would say, hey, entrepreneurship isn't for me, sales isn't for me, I just want to do a trade and focus on something. That's probably what I would have done, honestly. And probably the best way you could go from like making nothing to making good money within, by 21 years old, you can be well off. Compared to when you're in college, it's like, no, now you got to go into the marketplace and find this job that you don't even know if it's going to work out. Or you have to go to an actual technical school and spend 25, 30K easy to go and make that money. Back then, it wasn't like that. Back then, you can literally, while you're in school, get your technical certifications, get whatever you need to be able to go in the workforce 100% all for free. And again, going back to like the warehouse jobs as well, same thing, right? You can work your way up slowly. They've taken that out and outsourced it to China or wherever else. They've taken the technical schools out as well. So it becomes a lot harder for the regular person who might not have as many skills or might not have, that foundation piece to be able to build. Nowadays it's different, right? Because like you have the internet, so there's really no excuse. But when it was that transition period between 2000 and 2020, or maybe even 2015, I would say, it was very difficult for a lot of people to say, hey, I'm just gonna go get a good paying job. Like, it's not that easy.
Well, and this is why I feel like it's so hard and it's so rare to be like an entrepreneur or someone who just doesn't need direction to get what they want. It's because the system that we grew up in, and it's made for this, and that's okay. It's made
for workers.
It's made for workers because at the end of the day, not everybody could be an entrepreneur because
that's how it was.
Well, yeah, but like, I don't know. It's crazy. Like, there's always going to have to be people who are the cogs in the machine.
Right. Sure.
And that's okay. I mean, there was so many more business owners for the longest time, and we saw the largest shift in wealth between middle class to upper class.
Yeah, it used to be 90% business owners throughout the whole nation.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at less than 10%.
Yeah.
Like, it's tough to look at it and say, man, like, how has this changed, and not blame it on the program and not blame it on the school system, because it's like, if your government is building the curriculum for your school system, there's a problem there, in my opinion, which is what's been happening and what is, and that's how it works now. And so the great thing about social media and all this stuff, how it's been able to scale at this point, it's like you have so many people showing you there's another way.
Yeah.
So if you really want it and it's for you and you're willing to put in the work, there's another way.
Yeah, and I think this also speaks and kind of come full circle to the products that we consume and buy and stuff like that. Like, if you look at all of the products that are on every shelf, there's 1,000 different brands, but there's only about 6 owners of each of those brands. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that someone took off and said, you know what, I want to make more money, so I'm going to buy that. Oh, I want to make money here.
It becomes a monopoly, bro.
Yeah.
And so, and that's my point. Like, to me, like, when you ask me what's your end goal, my end goal is to put, like, Procter & Gamble out of business as far as the men's grooming space. If I can do that, I don't necessarily need to be on the shelf.
Now,
what I mean by, like, taking shelf space, that's what I mean. I want to be able to, like, you can take all the space you want, but shit ain't going to sell because they're coming through me, and they're coming through a better product because they understand the education behind what that product actually is compared to the competition.
Now, let's say at this point right now, you sold a few products, people are using your products, they're loving it.
Yep.
You know, you sell your product to the nephew of the cousin of the owner of Procter & Gamble.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, wow, this is really good.
Yep.
I'm the owner of Procter & Gamble. Gabe, I love your product.
Yep.
$10 million right now. Give me your brand. Give me your product.
Ain't enough.
$100 million.
It ain't about the money, man. If it was about the money, I would create a brand around that. But, like, if they can see that it can be a $10 million product, then I'm onto something.
I think that's like an insane perspective that, not insane, like that's the right perspective. And like I feel like a lot of people don't have is when a big company wants to buy you out, it's because you have something really, really cool.
I want that day to come. Like, that's the plan.
Yeah.
The day when that day comes, I'm like, okay, cool. Now we go fucking really all in.
Yeah.
Because, like, they just told me I'm worth $10 million.
Yeah.
So how can I go and be worth $100 million? How can I be worth $1 billion? Like,
well, it's the thing where it's like, would you rather me give you $1 million, or would you rather earn that $1 million? Right. And most people say I'd rather earn that $1 million, and
I think most people will take it.
I think
most people will take it.
I always hear those like smart asses that are like, no, I'll take the $1 million so I can invest it and turn it into $10 million. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, dude, but like, it's tough because I've seen people.
It's very money focused.
Yeah, I've seen people, and dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, when you're an entrepreneur, especially at the beginning, or even like when you're grinding through it, like, and you're trying to hit that first mil, you're trying to go from 1 mil to 100, like, because like you have to also look at it from a business perspective. $1 million revenue is fine, but most businesses are going off a 30% profit, which has to be reinvested in order to grow it to 10. Right. So like, you're not really making a lot of money off $1 million. Like,
no, well,
can you take $1 million cash and say, okay, now I can build something? Yeah, but now you got to start from scratch. Now you got to go back to zero, bro. Like, and so that's a whole thing within itself. Can it be a faster process? Sure, but your brain, like, you're literally starting fresh. You got to build the momentum again. You got to build the whole culture again. Like, it's a lot compared to just saying, okay, I'm just gonna ride this out and delay that gratification a little bit. And most people won't do that. And I think that's the problem. Most people can be bought.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with just where we're at as a culture.
Well, it's
and like,
scarcity.
Yeah,
it's scarcity when it comes to, you know, how the economy's going. It's a lot of fear factors going into it, and I think again that's all going back to like the plan of like, I want you to be, you know.
But if just getting $1 million solved all your problems,
broke,
then why is the majority of lottery winners why are they going bankrupt? If just $1 million solves all your problems, then these guys should never go bankrupt.
Because they don't know how to handle the $1 million.
Yeah,
and so
they don't know how to handle it, and they don't know how to keep it or build on
or invest it. Yeah. Right. And again, that's where it's like, oh, I'm doing all this so I can get that $1 million. Dude, a million these days doesn't spend like a million in the 90s. It doesn't spend like a million in the 80s or 70s.
And even a million these days is still, they say your first million is the hardest thing to hit, and then after that, it gets a little, you start to build on it, but the first million is always the hardest.
Yeah, and like, that's what they say, but it's hard because like to me it's like, yeah, I can take your word for it, but like I don't want to think that way either.
Well, I don't mind thinking that way because it just sits there and I go, okay, I know what I'm in for, and it almost drives me. It almost gives me more drive to know that, because I know that when I'm working early mornings, late nights, every night, and I'm sitting there like not making anything, it's like, great, but I haven't hit that million yet, so it's gonna be like this. And then as soon as I hit that million, now if it's easier after that, great. And if it's the same thing, then it's like, well, I'm already used to this, so let's just keep going.
Yeah, I guess what I mean by it, it's like, I don't like to say something's hard, because it's like, if someone else can do it, then I can. It doesn't mean it wasn't hard for them, it doesn't mean there's no challenges. But I think the big thing, and anyone can argue this multiple different ways, because you can work as an executive at a company and be an employee and still be growing at a very high level. But I think entrepreneurship bridges the gap between like having a plateau of growth and not. And that was always my big thing. It's like, going back to my past, right? Like, I did a year a year of college, and I realized, like, man, like, it's the math doesn't make sense. I did it, but like, it's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
Right. I always saw myself as an entrepreneur at a very young age, because I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So like, I always kind of had that sense of like I have a little bit of primal authority, man. I'm gonna be honest. Like, there's certain ways where you think it might be the best. In my head, I've already calculated 5 different ways, and I'm telling you, this is the best way to do it. And it ends up, I saw that throughout my whole career in sales. Like, I decided to take, okay, I'm not going to college, but I'm taking this career and this retail experience, and I'm gonna figure out how to build a business, and I'm gonna figure out the market, I'm gonna figure out the sales, I'm gonna figure out the operations. I need to know how all of it works. And then I'm gonna take that and invest it into my entrepreneurship. Like, I'm gonna build the skills while getting paid. That was my mindset.
Right.
I'm gonna take the next 4 or 5 years and just build my skill set. How can I get better at sales? How can I get better at operations? How can I understand marketing, design, like all these aspects? And a lot of people, especially in this day and age, as entrepreneurs, I don't think that's right. Like, the big thing that's been said is like, oh, like, hire for what you're not good at. That can do really well as far as speed and growing a business quickly, but I think it's very detrimental to your growth, because if you can't understand every part of the business a little bit, you're gonna have a very hard time scaling and building systems around it, which is what's needed to be able to build a million.
I think at a certain level, the former makes sense, where hire what you aren't good at. Like when I have,
But you need to get to that level first. But like you can't get to that until you hit the million, or you hit like a good amount where you say, okay, now the systems are built. Like
at the point where you're at, if you're hiring somebody, you're hiring not to where you aren't good at. You're hiring for what you don't have time to do.
Right. Or what comes harder to me.
Right.
It doesn't mean I don't know how to do it. It comes harder, and I need to be able to bring back a little more time. I'm buying back that time by hiring that person. But as far as like every part of the business, how are we doing our marketing? How does this look? I'm in everything, and I feel like that's the best entrepreneurs. The best entrepreneurs are the ones that are like in every part of the business. Like, I need to know how everything is running, and I need to be able to adjust it and see like, okay, this is good now, but 5 years from now, what's going to happen to the marketplace? How is this going to turn? How do we need to like innovate to be able to do that? And at that point, that's where managing comes in. It's like, okay, this is the idea. This is all the ideas that are coming in from my team. I really like this. I like this. I think this is how it's going to work. Let's try it. And now go and do it, right? And that's where, as a leader, you kind of back off and you get back your time and work on other parts of the business that you're better at. Yeah,
and at the end of the day, the people who are working for you are not as invested in the business, and nor should they be.
Nor should they be.
You should never be as invested in someone else's business as you are in your own.
Right.
And like, obviously, if you have like a partner or something like that, that's a little bit different. But at the end of the day, the people working for you you should never expect for them to be as invested. And that's why you can't let off the gas. And
the problem is, if you give too much leverage to that person has to quit on you tomorrow. What are you going to do?
Exactly.
And that's the problem. That's what I mean about building a foundation. Like, to me, that was where I was like, okay, I need to be as well-rounded as I can be. And then at a certain point, I'm going to feel comfortable enough to just say, okay, I'm just going to do it, and I'll figure it out, and I'll put people in place, as we evolve. And that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, I feel pretty confident with like my level of execution and how I can see the marketplace, how I see things. And it's just a matter of getting the right people in place to be able to help me kind of build that out from there.
So walk me through your sales process, like not even just with your own brand, but just in general. So the one thing, like, I do marketing, I focus in search engine optimization, which is kind of a niche that not a lot of people focus on. And when I've talked to different business owners or people who do similar things to me,
yep.
In like the marketing field and things like that, and there's always a conversation about, you get referrals, or you get, when you get different clients, and talking about that process when getting the client, and almost like, the sales process. Let's say for this particular situation, the sales process is 3 touch points and then the sale. That's your funnel.
Sure.
I have a really good understanding of that second touch point, that third touch point, and then the close.
Right.
What's the first touch point? What is the first thing that you do? And like, obviously we all know there's cold calling, there's email, everybody knows all of that stuff. Just crafting a good email or calling someone up, maybe they stick on the phone with you. But if you were to sell something right now to someone who has had zero interaction with you, what are the 3 things that you might potentially do to get that first initial contact with them and lead them to the second touch point?
So it's tough, man, because like I've been in B2B sales here and there, but for me, I do a lot better with building out, like, with referral systems or building out warm leads. I'm better at building that because, like, once I have a client, I know how to make that 2.
Yeah.
I know how to make that 3. And so I would say just like find people who resonate with your brand or what you're doing. But if you're going from scratch, let's say you're like, for this case, right? You're saying like, no, they don't know you, you don't know them.
Yeah.
I think the big thing is figure out how to get in front of them. If you can like do the face-to-face thing where it's like, hey, like, can I take 10 minutes of your time to figure out how your business works? Like, I'm really interested in this.
So when doing that, you're calling them, or you're emailing, or you're walking into their shop?
Yeah, you can call them, you can LinkedIn. Like, there's so many avenues you can do it. But the big thing is like figure out how you can build that relationship, right? A lot of people go straight into the sales, like, this is a problem I can solve. Well, dude, like, they don't know who you are.
And how do you differentiate yourself? So like, you brought up LinkedIn. I used to work with LinkedIn a decent amount. I still do. Like, the process that we had at the time was actually a really interesting process, because a lot of times on LinkedIn, you just get hundreds of messages of people saying, hey, how's it going? Are you looking at, and then they go kind of through this long spiel about their product, about their company, where the process that when I worked with a previous company, it was more of, hey, how's it going? Introducing yourself. Hey, here's something I thought you might be interested in. Like, no, there's like 3 or 4 messages that aren't salesy at all. And then eventually asking like, I'd love to get to know you, hop on a call. The problem is now, it was super effective. And if you're a salesperson at heart, just getting that call, that's the easy thing.
Yeah.
Once you're able to hop on a call. But especially with platforms like LinkedIn, because it's so saturated, there's this thought that anytime someone wants to hop on a call with you, it's going to be a sale. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I don't really come from like that cold calling, So to me, like, I've done it for a small period of my business. A lot of my stuff was local.
Yeah.
So a lot of local communities, figuring out how I can get into the communities and like all these other businesses. And so to me, a lot of it was like, if I can get them to come in to the store, because I did a lot of retail, or if I can get them to sit down with me and just talk about what they do, like just let them talk and figure it out, like, cool. I see from our conversation, I see this and this are a couple of your gaps. Can I help you with that? That's a way different conversation than trying to sell them something right off the bat. When you're talking about something cold calling, for me, like to your point, that's what I would do, but I would do it in a way that still provides value, where it's like, hey, like, you know, I see you guys are doing this. I have a free newsletter, for example, if you want to sign up. It gives you all information on marketing. There's no sale there. This is free information. I just want to give it to you.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for anything. And to me, I think that's really what led me to my success, or what I've been able to do the last, 10, 15 years, is to be able to give more than I take every single time.
Of course, yeah.
And if you can figure out a way to do that, you're going to do well no matter what platform you're on.
It's providing that value
Yeah.
to everyone. And there's a trend right now, especially in marketing, where there's all these coaches out there. There's there's some who do it right. Like I can't think of his name. I would love to call him out, but he does like a social media and video content type thing, and all of his content is explaining why things go viral. Here's good content for you. Here's how to optimize your profile. That's all of his content. He's just giving that away for free. And then it's like, hey, if you want more in depth or more one-on-one, then you can hire me for this. And I think that's really effective. I think a lot of times there's all these people out there that, they're talking about, we're going to coach you on how to do a thing that you're already kind of doing. Or my favorite are the we're going to coach you on how to become a coach to coach other people. Those are the best ones. And it's like they're super effective. Those guys make a lot of money, but it's the ones who stand out are the ones who add some sort of value and give away pretty much everything for free. But what you're paying for is direct access to me, and I think I feel like that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think that's it, man. And like just being patient. I think too many people go right into the sales pitch. It's like, man, like you might be better off adding the executive of that company and saying, hey, man, I really like the post that you posted about football or whatever.
Right.
It's really cool. Like I resonate with it, or I like this about that, whatever. Like just starting a random conversation. Sooner or later, that person's gonna be like, hey, man, what do you do? Like, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah.
And that's where like things can start to flow, and then you can close out on that big sale or on that big call, right?
Yeah.
And then from there provide value. One thing, just for example, like from a website perspective, like one thing that's working really well right now for those of you who like, you're into websites as well, and it's something that like I was planning on doing part-time just to like take over my day job, was like, man, I'm just gonna create a website and just send it to the business and say, hey, like I've created this for you. I've taken time out of my day, like hours out of my day, to create something really smooth for you because I see that this is something you're lacking. Would you be interested in getting on a call to like go over what this looks like for you operationally? That's a way different conversation because like, dude, this person actually went out of the way, they thought about my business, like they're caring. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, dude, that's all people really want. They just want to be like heard, understood, and like, to me, my big thing is like, if you can make a friend, you can make a sale.
Yeah.
Like this business, I really have done everything organically, and like it's slowly growing. So it's like, okay, if I can double that, can I have my people tell them and like start building a culture that way? Bro, it's just gonna evolve. So that's why for me, like referrals is a huge thing. But that initial thing, it's just like, hey, like what do you do? Who are you? Like, how can I provide value to you, or providing it without them even asking?
Yeah.
If you can do that, then like I think it just becomes a lot easier. But a lot of it's repetition. A lot of people it might not be the right time. You might call them at a bad time. You might, what I mean? There's so many instances where it's like, people think, I put so much time into like getting this one client, and then I couldn't sell them on it, or they weren't interested. I just wasted my time. You didn't waste your time because like you don't know if that person has someone else, and that person has someone else. Well, and so like I've gotten a lot of sales from that because it's like, okay, you might not need my service, but someone you know might need my service.
And it's persistence too. I like.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm one of those people that are very curious when I'm online on like when I see an ad. I click on most ads because I just want to see where they go because I know I'm going to potentially learn something from it. There's certain ads and certain products that I've actually bought because I was kind of interested in it.
But the customer flow was so good that
I appreciated how they marketed it to me so that I was just like, all right, I'm gonna throw you a bone on this. And especially with certain emails that I've gotten before. I've gotten people that I've seen their name, I've seen the email come up several times over and over and over again, and I've just deleted it, ignored it, and then by like the fourth or fifth time it pops up over the course of a few months, I sit there and I go, man, I love the fact that you're like, I'm kind of interested in this product, but I love the fact of how persistent you were and the fact that I'm just in a good mood.
Yeah.
Sure. And I ended up, there's a very specific product that I call out because anybody that I do like SEO work for, I always refer them to this business. It's called Yext, and it's a listing. Like the core of what they do is they help your business and consolidate your business information and then post it on listing sites all over the web.
Right.
And it's really, really helpful because you don't have to do that yourself. They'll do it for you. You just type in your information, it puts it out there. They also help with reviews, and there's a million other things that they do, but that's kind of the core, which is why I think they're worth it. And that was one of the things. The guy who sold me that was just so persistent over and over and over again. And then he almost guilted me into having a conversation with him because a package shows up at my door one day. And I open it up, and it's I forget, it was a charger, like an external phone charger, and a SLU mug. And not just like anybody who's gone to SLU knows that like the Billiken has changed over the years. It was an OG SLU mug. It's not the new one. Like it was an OG SLU mug, and I was like, I cannot believe you went through that effort. And I ended up buying the product. And I've been on with the guys for about 2 years now, and it's
and that's the same premise as anything else.
It's insane. Like the level of effort that people put into just getting to know you, not even just your business, but you as a person. That level of effort is just, it's out of this world.
Yeah, man. And that's what you have to figure out how to do on all different platforms, right? So like that's what I mean. Like I don't have too much cold calling experience because like to me it's like, hey, like I just connect with my people and say, hey, like I really like what you're doing here. Like, do you mind just reviewing my product?
Yeah.
So for me, because I feel like every entrepreneurship is different, right? Like some people are really good at like selling more digital products or selling something, right? But like you have to figure out what your market and what your niche is. For me, I came from retail, so it was always product based. Like I'm solving the problem. This is the problem most people have. I'm solving it. This is how we're better. And so if you can put yourself in a place, especially with your product, to like you're not just good or better, you're the best.
Yeah.
You can talk about it really passionately and say, okay, like listen, like this is what it is. And I think that opens up a lot of doors. And just asking for a review or saying, hey, try it out or whatever, like it just goes a long way, bro. Like it goes such a long way because it's like you're not asking for anything besides like a little review or a little thing. Or even not saying like, hey man, I see you have a beard, like do you mind trying my product out? Like
yeah, let me know what you think. It's super clean.
Like,
do you have any allergies? You know, like everything.
Or like, hey, like you know, for me, like I've been cutting hair for a long time, so I kind of understand like. I see some people, I'm like, yeah, like this guy really cares about how he looks or whatever, like, and I'll, you just start the conversation like, hey man, like, what cologne do you wear? Like, what, like, for me, that's how I go about it, where it's like, I'm asking questions about you. I want to get to know you first, and then I'll be like, hey, like, would you mind trying my product out? And that's where I give even more value for free. So you can do this with anything, really. You got to get creative. And I think that's where that barrier is, where like there's so many people doing it, but they're all doing it the same exact way. How can I stand out and say, okay, you know, the executive of this company can get me a really good deal, right? Like they can, say you're working in some type of sales or whatever, right? Saying, I really want to connect with this person because I see how we can help them at scale, and that could be really lucrative for both of us, right? Okay, how can I tap into that market? How can I tap into his network? How can I, like, who knows him that knows him, right? Like, so like you can go about it a lot of different ways. I really do believe, especially if you start like, networking and, you know, getting to know people in your community, you're gonna find that you're only like 5 or 6 people away from the person you want to get to know.
Yeah.
If you really look into it.
Right.
And
yeah,
so like, dude, don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, say, hey, this is my vision. Like you have to sell yourself first to a certain extent. Like once you actually get that call, hey, listen, this is what I do. This is what I'm looking to do. This is what I see within your business. This is how I can help. What do you think? What do you see? So that it helps me understand it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so that's where it goes back to them. If you can just let them talk, make it about them, make it about solving that problem, you're gonna have a way better chance of closing that deal all day long.
Yeah.
Especially if you're within their network. Say, hey, you know, John referred me to you.
Well, I think like, one of the cool things, and like, it's funny. I was actually thinking about this last night. You know, when we're sitting there and we're listening to Mark, yep. who's the owner of Omen Coffee in St. Louis. He's on Wash Ave. So he was talking about, and he harps on this all the time. He's like, hey, we have this network of people that are doing a bunch of different things. Like, before you buy a product, check them out first and stuff like that. And I think it would be actually really valuable, not just to like be exchanging wealth between each other, but just in general of like one night we're all sitting there and we just all just like stand up and take 3 minutes and say, hey, this is what I do. If you know anybody that needs that,
yep, you become that guy. And that's the thing, man. Like people want to be cared for and listened to, or they want to know the person that can take care of the problem for them. Like they want to either be the guy or know the guy.
Yeah.
And like, there's so many different businesses, so many different, you know, markets that it's hard for you to be that guy for everything.
Yeah.
There's no way you're gonna be that guy for everything.
No, it's impossible.
But within my circle, I'm the beard guy.
Yeah.
Right. And so, how can I just keep being the beard guy online? Like, and so that's why it's tough, because like, so many people don't want to invest that time. They're like, oh, my time's worth more. No, it's not. If you're not where you want to be, right now, if you're literally, especially if you're in a 9 to 5, for example, and you're trying to build a business like I am, the 5 to 10, 5 to 12 range, I'm not worth anything.
Yeah.
Like, just because I'm worth that at my day job doesn't mean I'm worth that. Like,
no,
so like to me, I'm worth 0 until I can build that rapport and build the business and like get people in place. You know what I mean? Like, and so like, too many people just have that like immediate gratification. That's what I'm saying. As far as delayed gratification is such a huge thing, man, because then it becomes one of those things that like you're okay with waiting. You want to build slowly that friendship or that rapport, and like it just takes time sometimes, and that's okay. Like, because sometimes doing that will get you the whale, not just the fish. Like,
right.
And so it just depends how you want to look at it. You got to put the time in. You got to be consistent, of course, but you got to provide value more than anything.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, when you're working W-2,
yep,
from that 8 to 5 o'clock,
yep.
I mean, and sometimes it varies. We all know
Sure.
We've worked jobs where we have to work later, early, you know. From that 8 to 5 o'clock, you are worth however much they're paying you. But from that 5 to 8, and then 5 to midnight, morning, evening, it's like you're worth whatever effort you put in.
Or whatever it was coming in during that time,
yeah.
right? And so like that's what I mean. Like you just have to be friendly with people, care about people to a point where like you don't want anything in return. And you just give, bro. If you give yourself out there, you put yourself out there and you give value, it'll come back one way or another. And that, it might not be, you know, you might, it's at the end of the day, sales is a numbers game, right? Like you might contact 10 people, you might get 2. But like, if those 2 are big enough, like that covers the time be spent with the 10.
Yeah.
So it just depends what you're selling, depends what you're doing, but ultimately you got to be passionate about what you're selling. That's a big thing for me, because I've gotten so many jobs that like I wasn't passionate about what they're doing or the product that they're doing, and I would just get burnt out, and that's why. because like it wasn't my thing. You know, I'm more entrepreneur oriented, so like that's where I mean like I have trouble with authority because it's like it's cool to build something for them, but like I want to build something for me.
Yeah, and there's something to be said. Like you have to love what you do, and
right, and it doesn't mean someone as an employee who doesn't want to be an entrepreneur can't do this. If you figure out how to provide value within your business and just ask, like say, hey, listen, I really want to get to $250,000 a year within this business. Yeah. What do I need to do? How much money do I need to bring in? How much value do I have to do to be able to get there?
Yeah.
And ask your manager, ask your team, ask your executive. Bro, they'll give you the blueprint that you need to be able to get there. It's just a matter of doing it.
Yeah, and I think that's super important. Like, because that concept doesn't just apply to entrepreneurs. If you are a employee of a company, like there's something to be said. There's something really cool about the fact that like I wake up in the morning, I do what I want, then I work, and then I shut off because I don't own the business.
Right.
So when I'm working for the business, I care about what I'm doing. But when I'm not working for the business, I don't have to care about it after the fact. And there's something really cool about that. So, but
that's you because you're building a big business, right? You're trying to build your own business. But someone who doesn't have the aspirations can say, hey, I'm not done at 5. I'm done at 8.
Yeah.
Do that every day for 4 or 5 years, bro. You're going to be at a top level because you're putting in more time that's required.
Exactly. But, and the really cool thing, though, that like I think is super applicable across the board, whether you're an entrepreneur or a W-2 employee, is the mindset of the fact that when I'm an entrepreneur, what effort do I need to put in? What do I need to do to make this income or to build or to achieve this goal? And as a W-2 employee, and obviously everybody has a boss in that instance, having that conversation of saying, hey, this is where I'm at. I want to be here. Obviously, I don't control the business.
Right.
So my assessment of what I do really doesn't make a difference. What is your assessment? So say you're making $50,000 a year at a business. Right. I want to make $90,000, or I want to make 6 figures in this company. What value do I need to bring to be to that point?
Exactly. And dude, if you ask that question, the path is going to open up.
I feel like a lot of people don't ask that question.
They don't?
Because
but that's also why they get beat.
They just think, okay, this is the job I'm working, this is what I'm paid for. Every once in a while you might have a conversation, or you might get a yearly raise for inflation, but even on the furthest end, you have the conversation of how, I think I've been given a lot of value here. I think I deserve a raise, and then you have that and it goes back and forth, but no one has the conversation of this is where I'm at and this is where I want to be.
And dude, and by the way, like to this point, like I want to make this very clear. Like you don't have to have that conversation. If you're good, you're gonna know where those gaps are and how to fill them. So like understanding, like it's cool. Like you can ask if you really don't know, ask absolutely. But dude, if you see it, do that role. Like pick up a little extra job. Like pick up something else within the business. Like you can figure it out as well. It's not always cut and dry.
I think the thing with especially W-2 employees, where it becomes hard is a lot of times your manager's not the owner of the business.
Right.
The owner, in most companies there's not like an owner. There's like a board and a CEO, and there's all this type stuff. And so even if you do the extra work, like it's as a business owner, like it's like that added value. Like, oh, this employee's really great. They're super valuable to us. I think until you have that conversation of this is my goal for this company, how do I get to that goal? You're like saying this is what I want to do, and also putting on their radar, like I'm working towards that. And if you aren't working with me towards that, then I'm out.
Right, and that's to the point too. Like to your point, like that's kind of why self-respect comes in, because it's like, and to the point I made earlier, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. And the only way you're gonna be passionate about what you're doing is to be able to do it with people that know, like what you want and what you're going after. And again, like to your point, it doesn't always have to be an ask. It'd be like, hey, like, you know, for example, you go right to your interview, hey, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
This is what I see. Is this something that I can do here in this company? If the answer is no, go look somewhere else.
Yeah.
Not everyone's worth your time, you know? And so you got to really be careful about where you go, because you can get yourself trapped really quickly, especially if you start living above your means and putting yourself in a position where, like, I need this money to live. And now you're like in this scarcity mindset where it's like, I don't know where else to go because that's all I've done is this.
Well, and that's always the scary part, just about, like, you know, as a business owner, you go, I need more money, or I want more money. So you kind of know the path that you got to take to get to that point, and you can always increase your income.
Right.
As an employee,
there might be some limits in place.
You're one, in some cases, you're one mistake away from having no income.
Right.
And that's why it's so important to, like, be able to.
And that's why it's not all about the money, dude, because it's like you can make money anywhere if you really understand the market and you have a skill set and you're building your skills outside of that work. Yeah. Where you can provide value in other areas, you're gonna do well. But it's not always about the money, because like that they can cap you out at a certain spot and say, hey, I'm gonna give you $100,000, but that's it. Yeah. And then you do that until you're like, okay,
not
cool.
satisfied
like,
anymore.
I built my skills, or I got really good at them, I perfected them within the workplace. Now I can take them somewhere else. Yeah. That's what I would recommend doing. But it really, you got to be careful, man. Like, so many people just go into whatever business and, like, they just get trapped. And then they're like, oh, I'm burnt out. You're not burnt out, dude. You're just not passionate about what you're doing. Yeah. Tell me one entrepreneur that, like, is really, like, mission oriented. They're passionate about what they're doing. They're not burnt out. Like, I've never seen one.
No. And that's I think we're tired.
You're tired.
We're tired. We need some sleep, but like we aren't like burnt out. We're like
someone
excited.
gave me I believe it. I'm a big fan of Andy Frisella. Like, to me, he was like a big mentor, especially when I got into retail and retail management and started getting into leadership. It was really cool to get on, like, listen to the MFCEO project, which is like entrepreneurship, just overall sales, like how you build businesses and how you impact the businesses. So for anyone listening, like, that's where I would start. But it was really cool for me to listen to it and implement it instantly, because I was in the retail setting and I was able to, and I had a team, and I learned these skills very quickly because I had that help and I had that mentorship. And you can do it anywhere at this point, because you can look it up online. There's a whole bunch of avenues that you can learn this information, but it was cool for me to kind of go through that, because one point he made is like, dude, no one who ever did anything impactful was not tired. Like, you're gonna be tired. Right. But if you understand, like, how the world works and how the universe works, bro, anything you put out, you're gonna get back. So if you're putting all you into something, something's gonna click where it's gonna come back to you no matter what. It's just how it goes. Like, yeah. So to me, that's my belief system and how I go about life, where it's like, if I can provide enough value, to your point, right? Like, that person got you to buy. Sooner or later, you're gonna feel guilty to buy. It's just a matter of time. Yeah. I just have to figure out that avenue and how to open that up, and be coming from a place that's genuine, not like, oh, I'm just gonna like keep hammering this guy until
you can tell if someone is reading the script and just going through the motions versus actually caring about, like, the thing is that there's this weird mindset out there that if I'm making money from you, if I'm paying money to you, yeah, then there's this mindset that people think you're getting something out of this, so you don't actually care about me because I'm paying you money. Right. But really, at the end of the day, it's like, no, you're paying this person money for whatever service or product. Right. But they do genuinely care about your outcome using their service or product. Yeah, man. Because if you don't do well, then it's like for me, if I do SEO or advertising or marketing for a client or anything like that, and they don't have a good experience or they don't get more business, like,
that's gonna hurt you.
I feel awful about that, right? Because I know how much money you spent. Right. To gain that business. I know, like, for small businesses, even just $1,000 a month for a certain product is a lot of money.
Right.
If you aren't actually seeing change when
It's
you're
not
spending
worth it for them.
that's a lot of money for them.
Right. And it's not worth it, and then it's going to become a situation where like you're not getting good word of mouth, and now you're getting negative word of mouth, which is even worse. Like,
and there's a difference between doing good work and not seeing results, and doing good work, seeing results, and then the client not recognizing the results, you know?
And dude, but at the end of the day, like, that's all I care about. The results is all that matters, right?
Yeah.
So you have to look at it as, okay, like, I know I have a good product and service, but that little piece might be a little tweak that you might need to be able to get the actual results that you're looking for.
Yeah.
But dude, negative word of mouth spreads way faster than positive.
Yeah.
So if you're going into the marketplace saying, hey, like, I'm just selling shit, I want instant gratification, I just want to sell something, well, it's going to hurt you in the long run, because you're not looking at the lifetime value of that customer, and that's what sales is, the lifetime value. Like, when I look at, for example, a product like this, right, it's, you know, my average package is $45, right? I'm not looking at, oh, I made a $45 sale. I'm looking at, hey, I know a product is really good, I'm going to follow up with that customer, I'm going to make sure they have the best experience I could possibly make it.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, that person's gonna be like, dude, like, I'm just gonna keep ordering this stuff because it's great. Now I'm not looking at $45 for that person throughout the lifetime of my business. Now I'm looking at $45 a month because they have to continuously order it. How much is that a year?
Yeah.
Right? And so it becomes a much higher ticket item. If you can look at it that way, it opens up the doors for a lot, bro.
Well, if people have a good experience with your product or service, you're getting free advertising in some way. Like, people, like, you know, a big area of marketing right now is with influencers or, you know, affiliates and things like that. Yep. And those are super, super valuable. But they also cost a lot of money, whereas, like, for, you know, you gave me this box with several products.
Yep.
And Ethan, are you getting that? All right. And with several different products, and like, I'm going to take these home and I'm going to try them out, and I'm going to, you know, because I like you, I like your business, and I know your products are clean and great, and like, that's kind of where I'm at in my life. I'm going to take those, I'm going to videotape me trying them on, and I'm going to say, here's how it goes, and then I'm going to do a follow-up of, hey, I loved this, you know, or like, this worked really well for me. And that is more valuable than anything else. Like, any product that I like, that I buy, like, for example, these lights that we're using is from a company called Lume Cube. These lights are kick-ass.
Yeah,
and I've just started using them, and I'm going to call them out. I did a thing, you know, Ethan, who's behind the camera, we were sitting there recording something the other day talking about these microphones. And like, these microphones are, I love these microphones. We can record anywhere. We're recording at Lit on the go. We don't have to be in a studio. There's no wires. Like, I did a plug for them. Actually, I haven't posted it yet. Be soon. But just a plug for them that looks like an ad, but it's like, no, I actually really like this product, and so I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah, man. And dude, and that's the piece that most people don't like. Most people create a product or service and hold on to it without giving it away for free.
Yeah.
And that's something you have to incorporate into your marketing budget. Like, dude, and to your point, like, yeah, influencers can be really good when you're looking at like Instagram influencers or Facebook influencers or whatever platform they're on, or TikTok. They can be really good, but the problem is, like, if they don't have a culture behind them, no one's gonna buy anything. Like, I've seen people literally give product to someone who has over 100,000 followers and get one sale.
Yeah.
Bro, that's a waste, right? Because, like, yeah, like, they might get it in front of a lot of people, but that person's brand isn't around that product or that service, or like, it's not helping them solve any problem.
Right.
Right? For example, if you give someone, I don't know, you have a cigar brand, right? And it's some chick that doesn't smoke cigars at all. It doesn't mesh with the brand.
Right.
So something like that's a waste as far as like who you can go after from a business perspective, compared to someone who smokes cigars all the time. Say, hey, like, dude, like, you only have, maybe 6,000 followers, but I know that your following's really good, your engagement's really good, your people are your people.
Yeah.
And like, I just want to put something in front of you that could be really worthwhile, that's local, that's, made differently, better, whatever the case might be. And again, this all comes back to being passionate about your product and making sure the product is better than most in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, dude, and just build that rapport and say, hey, like I don't expect anything from that. I don't expect you to do anything. It's cool.
But that's the thing is like, I love doing that type of stuff. I love finding products. Like, I buy products for myself because I want them.
Right.
Or if people give me products like this, just to try out, like, I'm gonna talk about it. Because if it's a good product, why the hell wouldn't you talk about it? Why wouldn't you help that business? Because at the end of the day, I mean, let's just put it on a purely just like selfish level.
Right.
If I love this product and you aren't successful,
right,
I don't get this product anymore. I don't even have the option to buy it. I don't have the option to do anything with it because you aren't successful and you go out of business or something like that. Like, so it's so important just in general to promote the products you love, especially when they're like kind of small businesses.
But that all comes back to culture, right? Because like when I go and I say, hey man, like, can you try this product out for me? Let me know what you think, or how I can make it better. Now we're in this together.
Yeah.
Now your input is going to be valued as far as how the product is created. Like,
right.
Can you say that for a big box brand? No.
No, they aren't going to give anything away for free because there's
care.
Always going to be people who buy it.
Exactly. And so like that's my point. I'm giving people a voice. I'm giving people a way to say, hey, like, I want to empower you, but at the same time, help me help you.
Yeah.
Right. And I think if you can create a relationship around that, dude, you can sell anything, and it's just a matter of time.
Yeah,
and again, it's not about the sale. It's just like you need the sale to grow, right? Like that's just business, right? Money in is business. If money's not coming in, you don't have a business. I don't care what anybody says. Like you're stagnant, your business isn't growing, it's not coming in. You have an idea,
right?
But if your business isn't moving, that's not the definition of a business. It's just.
But you have to like
it's a project, right?
You have to like it outside of that too, and kind of what you're alluding to there is like for me, I do all sorts of marketing. I like all sorts of marketing, but I'm really passionate about SEO. And the reason for that is because I love to see there's so many businesses out there that have hundreds of thousands of dollars to just promote their business and pay for top rankings. And they have teams of people that are sitting there constantly working on their website and creating new content to put them up in the rankings. And I love the fact that I can take a small business and help them succeed in a way to where they pop above that.
Because they should, because they're probably better at that service or whatever, right?
Right. They're just smaller, which is why, I've worked with you a little bit. You asked me, hey, can you teach me some SEO concepts? And it's like, of course. Like, any knowledge that I have on SEO or anything like that, I will give away for free because I want to see you succeed. But when the money aspect comes into play is when the person sits like, I'll give you whatever you want for free, but then when you sit there and go, hey, I don't have time to do this, can you actually do this stuff for me? Then it's like, okay, well now I'm doing work for you.
Right.
So that's a different relationship and we're working together, but hey, I'll teach you. I would love for you or anybody else that has a business to just know how to beat the big guys. And I will give that away for free any day.
But that's your passion, right? And not a lot of people have that mindset. Some people are like, I want to do SEO for big companies because I want to get paid.
Well, I do SEO for big companies because I gotta get paid.
Right.
You have to. You have to make money. But it's just like.
But it's just one of those things that like you're still passionate enough to like even do it for free if you could.
Yeah.
Am I wrong on that or?
No, you aren't wrong. It's like, I mean, obviously, like if there was this like unlimited amount of money in my account, I would go to every small business, or any startup that I could find and just be like, let me just help you because I want you to beat this guy.
Yeah,
like,
man. And that's it, man. Like that's just coming from a place of caring. Like it's just when someone asks me like, what's your best business strategy? That's it. I just give a fuck, bro. Like I don't know. Like I don't know what else to do because like I've been in that position where like I'm just trying to make a sale. It doesn't work.
Well,
like, it's only gonna go so far as how much money you can make. You're gonna be capped.
Yeah.
Until you get to a point where like this is more than just this. This is about the full relationship of us. Like and you can do this for the big business as well, but if you're not passionate about what they're doing, you don't back what they're doing.
Right.
And you're like, dude, like,
but
they have a crap product or they have a crap business, a crap service. Like, I don't want to be represented with that. That's the type of people that I want to hang out with. Yeah. People who have integrity to that point of saying, hey, like, it's not all about the money. It's like, I need to make some, and I'll work with bigger businesses that I believe in, or I understand their business. I see how I can help. But like, if right now, someone like Procter & Gamble reaches out to you and say, hey, man, like, I'll give you, $250,000, $300K, but like, you're stuck here. You can't do anything else. Would you take it?
That's a difficult situation, and probably not. I definitely, I don't think I would do that, only because like when working with small businesses versus big businesses, like there's certain big businesses that I am 100% bought in on their 100%. Product. Like I work with a company right now that does like AI. They've developed an AI technology that is basically future-proof and are going to help a lot of businesses that once the cookie and tracking completely goes away. I love this product. I'm 100% bought in on this product, and I want to see them succeed in any way possible. But at the same time, I want to see, I like helping people like you out and teaching you the same concepts that I'm using for them for SEO, because you live in my community. We live together. There's other things there's other value out there that is not just money. Like when small businesses succeed, your overall community succeeds. When I help out a Walmart or a Procter & Gamble, their money's not coming back into the community. Your money's coming back into communities, because when you make money, you're buying coffee from Omen, who is a St. Louis-based business.
Or I'm hiring someone local.
You're hiring someone local who's then putting, so all that money circulates throughout your local community, and that is also so important.
Right.
And just makes everything better.
A lot of people don't think that way. A lot of people are very selfish in their thought, where it's like, I just want to make money for me. But dude, sooner or later, like, think about the millionaires and billionaires who have committed suicide, bro.
I know.
It ain't about the money. Like, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, like I have that, like that's checked off. What's next?
Right.
And when you look in the mirror and you're like, okay, well, I've built all this stuff for all these bigger businesses, and I've made them millions and millions of dollars, and I'm just sitting here miserable because like I'm part of the cog in the system and I can't get out, or like I'm just not satisfied with the work, or I'm not passionate about the work I'm doing, or dude, it starts to mess with you, especially as you get older, as you start building a family, all these things. Like, you're working 24/7, you're taking time away from your family, you're taking time away from your kids possibly, right, if you have a family. And like, it just gets to the point where it's like, it has to be worth it for you to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so many people kind of go into this jobs and like stay stuck there. I'm like, dude, like there's another way to do it. There's more than one way to go about it. And like sometimes, it requires a pay cut. Sometimes it doesn't. Like sometimes you just need to build your skills to be able to transition from a big business that you don't believe in to maybe another big business that you actually do believe in, and that stand for what you stand for. The biggest reason I'm in St. Louis is because of that, man. Like, we moved to St. Louis to work for First Form. they're not a small business anymore. They're big.
They're huge.
They're a big business.
They invest in St. Louis.
They invest in St. Louis. They invest in their employees. They give you skills that you can use anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, they give you value way more than what they take. And if, like, a big business can do that, then cool, they deserve you, bro. Like, they've done their part. Like, I really believe, like, if you're not investing into your employees as much as they're investing into you, you're going to lose.
Well, that's also the other thing, too, is that, like, you know, investing in some of these local businesses is super important because they do help the community with jobs, you know, taxes, giving back, and everything like that. But, like, you know, for example, there's in Missouri, the Tyson plant closed down.
Yep.
And they closed down for a variety of reasons. We could go into that off camera. But a bunch of jobs were lost because Tyson, instead of worrying about how can I fix the community I'm in, how can I fix the area that I'm in so it's better for us to be here, they just sit there and go, well, it's actually worse for our bottom line to be in Missouri, so we're going to just leave.
Right.
Without any regard for anything. So, like, these big businesses are not worried about the communities and how they're affecting.
And dude, and I think this goes back to what you were saying earlier, where it's like, I truly believe everybody has a personal brand. And if even your employees don't back what you're doing, they're working there, seeing things firsthand, giving all this negative word of mouth, how do you expect to stay in business? You're not taking care of your people. People aren't even passionate about what you're doing. It's a lose-lose situation where, they're getting paid and you're getting labor, but that's all you're getting. You're not getting positive word of mouth. You're not getting more influence. You're not growing your business. There's just someone you threw in place to solve a problem.
A pizza party can go a long way.
Dude.
No.
That was like when I managed multiple stores, like, what do you guys want? Like, how can I help you? How can I build your skills?
Yeah.
We just want food. All right, cool. We're going to go out every week, or we're going to go out every month. Like, we're just going to get involved within our lives together to, like, really help each other out in other ways, not just how can I make a sale.
Yeah.
And so, dude, little things like that go a long way. It takes a very little bit, and Mark has said this, it takes a little bit to, like, be better than the rest. Yeah. Like, be undeniable, it doesn't take a lot. It takes effort, but some people don't see that. Like, if there's no dollar value to that effort, it doesn't make sense to them. As a big business, that's typically what it is. And it's like, dude, you're taking it completely wrong because, like, sooner or later, people are going to get bitter. And if your employees are bitter, they don't see the vision of where you're going. You're not selling them on, like, hey, this is all the opportunity that's going to come. This is, like, what's going to happen with our business. You're going to lose. Yeah. Sooner or later, you're going to lose.
They have to buy in.
Exactly. And that's like the big thing you're seeing now. Like, you go into Walmart or Target, they're all very low staffed. There's a lot of jobs.
The staff that is there, like,
they don't want to be there.
Yeah, it's just a job, and there's something to be said. Like, I've always envied, and I wanted this for so long. I wanted this mindset for so long, which is like, I'm gonna work this job, and this is gonna be enough. I'm gonna work this position, and this is going to be enough, and I'm going to. It's like an illness that it's just not always enough, and there's always something.
But that's the
bigger.
Entrepreneurship
there's
in
always
you, right?
something bigger. Yeah.
That's the entrepreneurship in you, and like a lot of people don't realize that till they're way later in their life, and they're just like, I just really like being an employee. I don't like the stress of a business. I just want to focus on the activities that I like. They value different things, right? We value investing in our business and what we do 24/7, like, because that's what it is. Business is 24. It doesn't stop. I'd rather be doing something I'm passionate about 24/7 and not have as much family time, but knowing that, dude, I'm happy. I'm building something. It's cool. Like, I find so much enjoyment in that because I know myself.
Yeah.
Some people don't work that way, and respect. But like, to your point, sometimes we need employees. Like, but like, how can you help them reach their personal goals? Where it might be, hey, like, I really like to travel. Okay, where can I put you within the business to help you travel?
Yeah, like, how can I
make this mix for both of us and be a win-win situation?
How can I get you to the point to where you want to take your family on a really nice vacation? Let's figure out what you can do to get yourself a bonus or a pay raise to the point to where you can achieve that goal.
Right.
And working together to achieve that, because not only does that help you because they're invested more, but it also helps them because now they're invested in you and they're also much happier in life.
Dude, and typically they'll give more than you ask. Like, if you do it right, they're gonna give more than like they're worth at the beginning. And like, if you can get them to invest and say, hey man, like, listen, this is what it is. I'm a small business, or I'm a big business, but like, we have so much growth to do that we can't really afford a lot. But like, this is what the roadmap is if you're willing to take it. Some people will do that, right? But like, you have to be willing to like give that vision and sell that vision to them to the point where it's like, and not just to sell it, but like actually apply it and pull through with it. Because if you sell the vision and you don't do your part, bro, you're gonna have a very hard time hiring sooner or later. Yeah. Might not be a year, might not be 2 years, but like down the line, you're gonna have a hard time, which is why so many of these businesses are going online.
Yeah.
Like, why are they putting, there's no people at cash registers anymore. Everything's self-checkout. Bro, because they didn't sell the vision.
Yeah.
And although, these big businesses might be big now, let's see where they're at 50 years from now. Might not be the same thing.
Yeah.
We might say, hey, like, they were $1 billion business, now they're worth $100 million.
Yeah.
Who's taking up all of that? The small businesses, because they're doing it right. And I think that's what we're starting to see slowly, but I think that's what we're starting to see. And I think it's really interesting too from what you're doing from a media standpoint. You couldn't do this like 10, 20 years ago, where it was just YouTube.
Yeah.
There wasn't that many people you can do it for. There wasn't that many people building out the personal brand. You weren't getting paid as an artist or as a creator as much as you can now.
Yeah.
When you look at something like art, for example, dude, you can literally build out your whole social media around art and create something for yourself. You can build a podcast like this and build it at a level that like you can make a very good living. You couldn't do that back then. 20, 30 years from now, it wasn't a thing. It wasn't possible. So it's really interesting in the market going from like low paid creative to like now all the creatives really high paid, like very well paid. Like I've seen people build out like their media company from 0 to 100,000 in a year, bro. You couldn't do that back in the day. So, I think social media is one of those things where it's 50-50, it's good and bad, just like anything. But it just depends what you want to focus on. And if you focus on the good, there's a lot of good, bro. It can give you a lot of freedom, can give you a lot of liberty to be able to craft your own life and your own path where you couldn't do that before. And so if a big analogy that like, I'm a big fan of Gary Vee, a big analogy that he says is like, dude, your grandparents will laugh at what you're doing right now because like you're complaining about getting paid $15 an hour or whatever minimum wage, but they don't have the opportunities that you have, especially on your phone. Like understand that. Like it wasn't easy accessible. You want to get good at something, you had to go read a lot.
Yeah.
Like you had to pick up the book and read and then apply and then come back and read. Dude, you don't have to do that anymore. Now the mentorship is free. Like it opens up the door for anything you want to do. And it just depends how you want to look at it.
And I love that you brought up like our grandparents looking at us now, because the thing that I've always focused on when building everything is like it has to start somewhere. And I don't know, like you come from a family of entrepreneurs. I didn't.
So I came from both.
Well,
I came from both.
But like you have that like for example, Jeff Bezos was not a rich guy when he started Amazon. He didn't come from money. Most billionaires do not come from money. They come from drive. But it has to start somewhere. And I think that's the thing is that like, I come from a family of people that they work and they have their jobs and they made a good family and did the best they could and turned out all right. But there's this drive to want more where it's, I not only want a happy family and a good legacy, but I want generational wealth, to not only a wealth in monetary value, but also a wealth in knowledge of here's how you succeed. Also, you're never going to have to worry about if you're going to be able to afford new cleats for soccer, like that thing. And then that's going to then be passed on to you. And you're going to decide whether or not you want this life. And if you do, then it's set up for you. And then your legacy's carried on. And then by the time you're 5 generations away from where you are, you're dead and gone.
Yeah, dude.
That generation is sitting there living in their mansions, investing, giving back, and doing all of this stuff that you started and grinded for right now, so that they could live that perfect life.
And dude, honestly, like, I agree with you 100%. Not everybody has that mindset. I think really, there's a few things. I moved to the United States at 6 years old. So from 0 to 6, you could say, I don't remember have that many memories, right? Because you're a young kid, but
yeah,
I saw my dad build a bar, restaurant style. I saw my grandparents have like their own grocery store, working their asses off, bro. So I saw a bit of that success, but it wasn't anything like, it was still a small business, right? And growing up, I moved to the States and I saw my mom going, different jobs. Like, she has 2 degrees, one in human resources, one in business. She never used it until recently, where now she's a human resource director. But like, when you really start to do the math, it's like, dude, like, you're putting all this time and effort in, and yeah, you make a good living, you do well, you can go on a couple of vacations. That's all great. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that's amazing. I always had the chip of like, bro, they moved their whole life so I can be a little bit better. Why would I do the same thing they're doing? Like, there's something about it, man,
no,
that like.
It's building on it. But that's the thing, is that they started the process. They moved to a better life. They built a business so that they don't have to answer to anybody.
Well, that was back home, right? So back in Puerto Rico. So like that was theirs, but to this day they were still working on the business. Like, they never got it to a point where it was like, hey, we can sell it off and be in the millions or be well off. Like, it wasn't like that. It was like, hey, we have to feed, and my dad's side, my grandparents, they had to feed 8 kids.
Yeah.
You're not gonna do that from a day job. Like, that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And so, like, you either have to build something or be an executive at a very high level or something. And, like, to them, it was like, all we know how to do is build businesses. Because, again, back then, 90% of people were entrepreneurs. So that's all they knew.
Yeah.
And so, to me, as I started going through school, I was like, cool, I'm going to be a physical therapist. I'm going to open, be a personal trainer, whatever that, the avenue was during that time. I'm going to build a barbershop and kind of do something around. It was always something around entrepreneurship where I wanted to do my own thing. And again, that all came back from like seeing them be able to do it, and it gave me like, okay, they did it, I can do it, because they're both my family, and I have their support on top of it. But do this stuff because I'm a foreigner technically, right? And so the big thing was school. Like, to have that conversation with mom, say, hey, I'm done with school, bro, it was heartbreaking for her.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I gave her the reassurance of like, hey, I've always sold stuff. Whether it was sneakers or pieces of gum at school, like, I had that in me, and she's like, dude, you're your father. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
And so because she gave me that liberty of saying, hey, cool, you don't have to go to school, but you have to get a job, you have to start building your skills out. Once she gave me that green light, bro, it was cool, all in. I'm gonna build my career. And I started building my career, got to the point where it's 6 figures, and I'm like, okay, well, I got here, it ain't, well, people think it is. It's not a lot. You gotta get taxed off the ass, bro. Like, 100K, you're making 60 to your pocket, maybe. You know what I mean? And so, like, I started looking, I'm like, man, like, this is cool. Like, I got to the point where she wanted me to get to was a good paying job, right? She wanted me to go to school so I can get a good paying job. I got there without the school. What now? And dude, that was tough, because like, once when I came out here, I was working at first form part-time, And I loved it because I loved their mission. I was like, this is somewhere I can really build a career where I don't have to go entrepreneurship. And the more and more I was there, I was like, man, like even in the best company, what I consider one of the best companies in the world, I still felt very unfulfilled. And so that's where I was like, I just got to do my own thing. Like, it's time. Like I wasn't learning anything new. Like I was coaching all these new guys. I'm like, this is how you do this. Like things that to me are very basic at this point. And I was just like, dude, like I don't need to see anything else. So it was cool. I think I needed that because I was also able to see like the owners, the presidents. I was able to see how they work and at the level that they work at. And I'm like, man, if I'm gonna work 24/7 like them to be able to build that type of career where I'm an exec or I'm doing really well within someone else's business, I'm just gonna do it for myself. Fuck it.
So what is it about, I wanna ask this question, what is it about that you think from your opinion, it doesn't have to be anything based in it, what is it about immigrants that come to America that have this, because I feel like immigrants have more of an entrepreneurial drive
100%.
than American citizens who, whose families have been here for a few generations. Like I think I'm third generation. Part of my family came over, Ellis Island, through the boats and stuff like that. Like, so I'm a third generation, second generation on, no, it's still third generation on the other side. But what is it about like immigrants who come over here and then the generation right after that still has it, like that has this entrepreneurial drive? Like, what do you think is going on there?
I don't know from an entrepreneur perspective, right? Because I'll say this, like if I didn't have my father or my grandparents do entrepreneur, I don't know if I would be one, to be honest. I don't know. Because I think part of it is like, you just have this thing.
But like your father and your grandparents, why did they?
Well, that was the norm. That's what I'm saying.
That?
So like everyone just owned businesses and they traded. Like I come from farmers, bro. Like we grow crop, we trade it, or we make money, and like that's how we feed the family. It was never.
And for reference, where did your family?
In Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, okay.
Right. So like that's the premise of it. Was like my great grandparents, like they're all farmers and traders. That's all they did.
Yeah.
And so like my dad kind of took that same route. I was like, okay, well I'm just gonna do the same, but I'm gonna build my own business. And he's had jobs as well, and it's like, dude, it was always an issue. Like sooner or later, he's like, dude, I can run this better. I'm just gonna do my own thing.
Yeah.
Every single time. So like I don't know as far as that, but I will say like a lot of it is like seeing your parents sacrifice and seeing your parents go through the struggle, bro. It puts a chip on your shoulder where it's like I have to work hard. There's no option but to work hard because like I saw like me fucking off basically. Like that's an issue, bro. Like that's to me that's a pride thing to a certain extent where it's like, dude, like they paid their dues for me to get this, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna sit and do nothing, or I'm gonna sit and not work hard at my career. Right, like it doesn't have to be entrepreneurship, but I know so many people who are great workers. They're amazing workers. But they love their vacation, love their travel, and that's great for them. They enjoy that. For me, it goes even deeper. Like once I started looking at my family tree, I was like, man, this person changed everything. This person changed everything. I'm like, I'm gonna change everything. Like, and that was it, because like I enjoy it. It's not because like I wish I was more family oriented. I wish like I can just be at a job and be happy, bro. Like I really do wish. I think it would be a very blissful life, but I think it's a very stagnant life. And to me, like I can't stay still, bro. I need growth to be fulfilled. It doesn't matter whether it's in my career or not. The problem is, again, in most jobs, you're gonna have a plateau. Like you're gonna be capped at how much you can do.
Yeah.
And even if you get to a point where you're a CEO, that's technically an employee job. Like if you're a CEO at a big corporate, that's an employee job.
You still answer to someone, and that's the thing is that everybody has a boss.
You're gonna be answering to your shareholders.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, dude, I didn't want that. I enjoy my freedom so much that I'm okay with making $50,000 for the rest, or the medium wage, or whatever that is with inflation during that time for the rest of my life, and still be my own guy. I would rather do that.
Yeah.
Than get paid a $250,000. Like,
there's something to be said, like when you recognize what your family went through, to get you where you are. You know, on my side of things, like, I recognize, like, both of my parents went through their own struggles in life to get me where I am. You know, like, I lived with my mom, and you know, she worked a job, came home, cooked dinner, like, did all this stuff, struggled, a lot of stress in her life. She, like, there's many times where, you know, that struggle got to a point to where it's like, you know, potentially not paying house payments or car payments or something like that because she thought it was important for us to have a specific type of education, which was like a private Catholic education. And that was more important to her than going on vacations or having extravagant things.
I went through very similar upbringing.
So you sit there and you recognize some of that stuff, and it's like, how can I not? And like, how can I not try to build something to pay them back in some regard? Like, how can I not sit there, like, before I'm my parents' age, and like, I get emotional about this. Like, how can I not sit there and like go, I need to build something to the extent to where one day everything that they own is going to be paid off. Anything that they want, they will have. And like, because you almost owe it to an extent because you are where you are. Like, you wouldn't, good or bad experiences, you would not be where you are without them.
And honestly, man, I think it's a lot of little things, but I think what it really comes down to is being able to take care of other people. Like, I think, I don't know, I might be speaking for you, but I think we've suffered so much in our upbringing that we want to end suffering for other people. At least that's me.
Yeah.
Like, I saw my mom going, you know, to your point, like, at 3 years old, my parents divorced. And I went to...
I think that was about the same age.
And I was you know, 3 kids, single mom.
Yep.
All going to private school in Puerto Rico, which is not a lot in Puerto Rico.
That's like the exact same experience.
Yeah,
3 kids, single mom. Yeah,
dude,
I know.
And so,
right.
And so it's one of those things. I'm like, man, the reason I'm in private school is because she wants it to be bilingual. And then she got my stepdad. We moved to the States, and we slowly built to the point where we had a house in Florida. Like, we moved to Florida, had a house. So I've seen the middle class, and I saw a lower class, and then 2008 happened and went right back to lower class.
Yeah.
So I got a taste of like, okay, this is what we can do. This is what's possible for us to do. Now let's go build. And then.
But why were we so reliant on the fact that a certain economic collapse happened that put us back down? Like, why do we fluctuate with the market?
Well, I think that right there was just us doing more than we should have been doing.
Yeah.
It was stretching our means to a point where it was uncomfortable, and like that led us to that point, right? But what I'll say is, like, man, like, once my stepmom and my mom and my stepdad like divorced, like, that was again going right back to 3 kids and my mom working 2 or 3 jobs. And bro, when you're 13, 12, 14 years old and you can't work because you're literally not allowed to, you're just sitting there like, I can't help my mom. I can't do anything.
And also at the same time, like, you don't even necessarily understand
100%
what's going on. Like,
but you still feel the suffering, man. You still feel the pain. You still feel the struggle and the sacrifices that are being made. And you're like, man, I'm the youngest one in from my mom's side. Like, and I'm just sitting there like, I can't help. And that helpless feeling of like, I can't do anything to like end the suffering, bro, that ate me the fuck up. To the point where like, I started working at 16 and I haven't looked back, bro. Like, I don't take vacations. You can ask my girl, like, bro, we went on one vacation. It was to a wedding for my buddy's wedding.
Yeah.
And that was Mexico, like at a resort. It wasn't even like an extravagant thing. I haven't taken a vacation since, bro.
Yeah.
I do not feel like I earn it. Like, and my mom's opposite. She's like, go vacay, enjoy your life. I'm like, you don't get it. Like, I'm okay with this. I'll enjoy
my life
when I'm done, bro.
I know, because like, as an entrepreneur, you know that you have to constantly be building. You can't take your foot off the gas, because as soon as you do, someone else is gonna
and it goes down, right? And so that's, yeah, man, like, it's 24/7 a thing, and it's a lot of stress, man. Like, it's days when I'm like, man, I just want to quit, but at the same time, like, I can't. Like, the goal is this.
Yeah.
If I deviate now, I'm never going to get to that goal.
Right.
Or I'm going to have to go back and start over and go back and start over. And I see so many entrepreneurs do that where it's like, you know, sometimes, and you have to be self-aware to a certain extent, bro. Like, there's some people that are really great people. They're great secondary people. They're great vice presidents, but they shouldn't be the CEO. Well, they're great presidents, but they shouldn't be the CEO. And you have to be self-aware enough to understand that. For me, that's something that I've always questioned. I'm like, am I a really good two-person? Because I've been able to work for other people. Am I just a really good secondary person? And as I started kind of, you know, going through and figuring it out, like, okay, I'm going to test the theory out. I'm going to build my business and see if it clicks.
Yeah.
See if there's proof of concept. See if I can make this work. And bro, from design to marketing to R&D to like, all of it has been me so far. Because like, I just don't have the means to be able to outsource and hire that. But that gave me a really good insight of knowing that, like, dude, I can do a little bit of everything.
Right.
And because I'm so well-rounded, that's what a CEO is.
Yeah.
I can understand different concepts quickly, and I can catch them, and I can say, okay, I see what you're saying, but this isn't right. We need to pivot here. Like, I see things 10 steps ahead compared to someone who isn't. And so that's my gift, where it's like, I can see things very clearly. And dude, I give this a lot of credit back to my mom, because like, again, she understands my dad, and she was like, this kid, he has something, like, and she challenged me as a kid. She was like, listen, like, out of all your siblings, you got something. Like, you have a brain, bro.
It's in
like,
your DNA. It's
and,
like,
and
it's
she was
not a trait, it's like, it's in your DNA.
And she would challenge me, she's like, hey, just try really hard in school for this one semester. And if it doesn't work, I'll never ask anything from you again. A's, B's, like, so it's like, okay. She gave me the affirmation of like, dude, if you just try your hardest and you don't quit, you're gonna get there. But like, a lot of people don't have that, man. They don't have that, like, hey, you're worthy. Like, this is the reason I'm sacrificing everything, so you can have the opportunity to do whatever it is that you want to do. And by the way, like, if I wanted to do art and pursue art, she would be all in. She's like, do whatever you want to do. I have that type of mom, which is amazing. But she understands me on the entrepreneur side, and she's like, this kid's gonna figure it out. Like, he just understands how to figure it out. You know, like, being on the internet at 10, 12 years old, me like email people, like understanding these little things and just working, you know, on word art or little things that like to us is easy, but at the time it was a brand new thing for everybody. But I would get it, and she's like, you're really good with like tech. And I'm like, I don't know, it's basic. It's just repetition. You click here, you click, it's easy. But because I caught on to so many little things, she just kind of gave me the affirmation over time that like, dude, as long as you keep trying, you're good. I got to the point where like throughout my whole high school career, she's like, I don't care what you get in school, just pass. I don't care. Like, and it's because
D's get degrees.
Bro, and it's because of that, because she understood like, dude, like, this shit doesn't matter. Like she knew, like, something just clicked for me freshman year that I was like, I don't want to do sports. I just like, I was selling gum, bro. I was buying the packets of gum.
That's awesome.
Selling them, and I would get them for 35 cents a piece, like the packets, and sell them for 25 cents each. I just made my money and paid for myself. So I never had to ask for lunch money. I never had it because I figured it out. Like, I would buy a pair of shoes, Jordans or whatever, and I'd sell them, you know, 40, 50 bucks above. Bro, like, that's how I made money when I couldn't go work. And like, dude, my first paycheck, I was like, here, like, I don't care for it. Like, it sucked. I worked a lot more than I expected. And when, you know, you have your first job making, you know, 8, 10 bucks an hour, whatever it might have been, dude, it sucks. You're like working all this much, and then you see your taxes, you're like, what the fuck? Like, I'm doing all this work for nothing?
Understanding what taxes were was like, that was the ridiculous.
But that's stuff that's not taught in school. So like, for her, it was more important for me to learn, okay, how do you run a home? How do you budget? How do you know what I mean? This is the expenses that we gotta alleviate. Bro, so many times where I didn't have, you know, a phone, like our phone was cut off, or, you know, there was late payments on credit cards or what, like, that was a regular thing just because it was, the priority was to get food on the table.
Of course, yeah.
And dude, like, I just got to the point where I was like, to this day, like, I'll literally rather go broke than have to like set a budget when I go to the store for food. I don't care. That is the one thing I do not, because I know what it's like to like have to eat like boiled eggs every morning because that's all we could afford, and bread. Like, that was it. Bro, like, that's not something I want my kids to experience ever.
No, and like that's always the trap, and like, and I think this is a potentially good spot to end on here is like, talking about your business and how you're able to create a product that's like good ingredients and healthy and doesn't have like aspects that potentially harm the individual that uses it just because it's like, it smells good or something like that, is like the emphasis of putting a priority on health and food and not sitting there going, we are so broke that we're eating ramen noodles.
We have to eat the bad stuff because that's all we can afford.
Yeah, we're only eating the bad stuff. We're only eating the boxed items instead of the fresh items. Like we've put a huge emphasis on health, where we spend a lot on our gym that we go to. We spend a lot on the type of food that we like. We get a meat subscription that it comes from grass-fed. Like we know where it's
local
sourced.
Farmers.
Yeah, it gets delivered to our house. It's awesome, and I think that that's so important. And to not have to, like, if I don't make $1 million, but I can afford just to be able to spend a little bit more for healthier habits, and my family and my kids, they grow up to be healthy and not have medical issues like I've had, and all that type of stuff. Like that's the end goal.
And dude, it's because again, you're looking at it such long term, but once you're going through the system, you're looking at everything such short term because you're trying to survive.
Right.
And dude, I've been through that too, but like the big thing for me is two things. One, I kind of grew up in the self-development space very early on. Like I saw people that I liked. To me, it was, I wanted to be in bodybuilding. I started lifting at 16, and I started to understand how important food was to the brain, how all these things matter. And it's okay, if I can take care of myself and prioritize myself, then I can start taking care of everything else. And it's really how I played out. Like once I started prioritizing my health and my food and my intake and started competing and doing these things, I saw every other part of my life get richer.
Right.
Every single piece, bro. And again, but also studying the successful people. And to this day, you ask a millionaire or a billionaire, what is the one thing that you don't, your standard doesn't drop on? Bro, my health.
It's health, yeah.
They spend money on chiropractors, they spend money on getting, medical procedures done at a very high level so that they know it's good. Everything comes back to health, because if you can't take care of yourself, the business ain't gonna run. Who's gonna take care of it?
It's exactly, and that's so. That's what's so important about our buddies over at New Age.
Yeah.
What they're doing over there is they're like, listen, just get a blood test, figure out what you're deficient in, because it's not like you need a medical procedure or a really expensive prescription. You just might need to spend $30 to take extra vitamin D every single day. And it's gonna amplify your quality of life tenfold just by doing that little thing, and it's so important.
And dude, and again, going back to what we were saying at the beginning, it depends how you want to look at your life. If you're looking at it instant gratification, I just want to feel better today, you're gonna take maybe a surgery to reduce the fat, or you're gonna do this. You're not gonna hit the gym. There's so many ways to be able to get immediate gratification right now in this day and age that it's easy to back away from those hard things. But dude, the biggest thing that I've learned the last couple years, I feel like as a man, we kind of have to mess things up. And I've messed up, bro. I've not taken care of myself, and I see how it feels. I see the depression. I see how dark things can get. And it got to the point where I need to pull myself out. And dude, doing something as simple as fasting or going carnivore for a little bit, just limiting your processed foods changes your brain at such a level that okay, now I can take back my life and say, okay, this is what's harming me. This is what, it's a cause and effect situation. So if you take out what's bad, there's nothing but good left. But at the same time, you have to go through that to learn the lesson.
You have to screw things. You have to screw things up so that our kids don't have to screw it up. And
it's to me, dude, that's why when it comes to the men's group or any of these young guys, dude, I'll step in and I'll be a little more forward than I probably should be, but I'm like, dude, I'm trying to mentor you and skip that process of the hurt and the pain that like I had to go through.
Yeah. And there is value in learning what happens when you do the wrong thing.
Right.
But at least you know.
At least I'm planting the seed of like,
yeah,
this is how you should do it. Do it your way, but I'm gonna tell you this is how you get out, because like one day you might be in that dark hole, but you're gonna think, hey, Gabe told me like this is how you do it.
Yeah.
So like even if you do mess up, at least you know how to get out. And a lot of people don't have a way out. They don't think there's a way out. They don't understand that like, bro, there is always a way out to something, and like the pain that you feel is gonna be so much sweeter when you get the joy out of it. Like,
yeah.
And so like it's a yin yang thing, man. Like especially with business, you're gonna invest a lot of time at first, but you're gonna reap the rewards later, right? It's a yin yang. You might be really invested into the business at first, and then have all the time in the world to spend with your family. It's a yin yang. It's a balance that you have to figure out what you're comfortable with. Some people want to have all that all in one day. That's fine, but just know your schedule is going to be pretty hectic for a long time.
Go buy some scratch offs if you want it right now.
Yeah, and so like it's one of those things, man. You gotta have to work with it little by little. You know, for me, like I'm big on the 90-10 rule. Like if I can work hard 90% of the time and enjoy that little 10%, I know that in the future it's gonna flip.
Right.
It's gonna be 90% freedom, 10% work.
Yeah,
and I'm cool with that because I never want to get rid out of the work.
So that I don't have to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to get out of the work, dude, because like I've gotten to the point where like, especially with COVID, like I was unemployed. I was doing nothing at home, getting paid from the government.
Right.
I don't like that idea.
I was doing it too. It
I
felt
had to
weird.
do it because
was
like
weird.
It was weird, bro. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just wasting my time.
Isn't it weird though? Isn't it funny how like now I know that during that whole time you could have been building your business process so that you could have just hit the ground right. It's like, oh, that makes me so mad. But dude,
that stuff you need to learn though.
This was awesome. I
appreciate you.
Thank you for coming and doing this. We'll definitely
do it again.
Do it again. You know, I'm always trying to get business owners, not just business owners and entrepreneurs, but hungry individuals that, you know, in their field, that are just trying to better themselves, better their business that they're creating or the company that they're even looking for, and just trying to discuss, see like, how can we use this to better our overall culture?
Yeah, and a lot of it, dude, a lot of the lessons like intertwine.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how you apply them might be a little different. Right. And I think, dude, anybody can be successful, whether it's in an entrepreneurial role or an entrepreneur role. It's just, are you hungry enough to go for it?
Yeah.
Are you willing to do what most aren't doing?
Yeah.
And are you willing to do it long enough to you can reap the rewards of it?
Right.
And that's it.
So, cool. This was awesome. Gabe, CPTN Beard Co. Thanks.
Appreciate you, brother. Can't wait to see 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road where we're both at, and
dude, it's gonna be awesome.
Doing this again for sure.
Right.
It'll be dope.
Cool.
Awesome, man.
Cool. Kill it.